I bet at least once you've woken up with a killer idea, one so exciting that you just wanted to dive in and start building, right? But here's the truth. Jumping straight into building is the fastest way to waste time, money, and more importantly, your motivation. And it's not even how the pros do it. Every successful tech company, yes, the Googles, the Amazons, and all those unicorn startups you admire, follow a proven process before they write a single line of code. So today, I'm going to walk you through a framework I call GAPS, a simple yet powerful tool used by countless software teams to validate business ideas before building anything. So let's break it down and get your framework established so you can start building something amazing. Fast intro song. So what is the GAPS framework? The GAPS framework stands for goal, audience, problem, and solution. It's designed to help you understand why you're pursuing this idea, which is your goal, defining exactly what audience you're solving a problem for, identifying the core problems that audience is facing, and exploring potential solutions to solve those problems. And while this is a strong foundation, it's just the beginning. There are other critical steps that follow, like conducting competitive research, building a proof of concept, and testing that with your audience. However, I found that for beginners, focusing on these core elements first is essential, and if you make it this far, we can cover the rest in another episode. Let's look at step 1, identifying your goal. The purpose of defining your goal is to clarify the mission and vision for your startup, ensuring you have a guiding principle that aligns your efforts and keeps you focused. Start by asking yourself these questions. What problems are you passionate about solving? Why does this matter to you? How will success feel to you? For example, if you're passionate about mental health, your goal might be make therapy more accessible using AI. It's simple, it's clear, and it's actionable. Or maybe you're obsessed with productivity. Your goal might be help remote teams collaborate more efficiently through AI-powered tools. Or even perhaps education is your calling. That's great. Your goal could be create an AI tutor that makes learning math fun and interactive for kids. Take this as a pro tip. If your goal doesn't excite you or align with your values, it'll be hard to sustain the energy needed to build a startup. So just choose something that fires you up. Now let's move to step 2, defining your audience. Not everyone is your customer. In fact, trying to appeal to everyone is a recipe for irrelevance. Instead, zoom in on a single specific group of people who experience the problem acutely. Ask yourself, who are these people? What's unique about their situation? What shared challenges or behaviors do they have? Here are some examples. Instead of targeting people who need therapy, narrow it down to college students struggling with anxiety during exams. By getting specific, you increase your chances of creating something that resonates deeply with that audience. I'll give you another example. Instead of focusing on small business owners, target first-time entrepreneurs trying to manage cash flow. This precision lets you address their unique challenges with tailored solutions. I'll give you one more. Rather than targeting fitness enthusiasts, consider new moms looking for quick, effective home workouts. You're addressing a specific need that isn't being met by broader fitness solutions. This step is critical. It's where you gather real insights that will shape your product idea. Skipping it is like flying blind. Now that you've identified your audience, talk to your audience. This is where the rubber meets the road. Before you make any assumptions about what your audience needs, talk to them. Yes, actual humans. I found that patterns begin to emerge, and you'll find real actionable feedback with only 5 interviews. 10 is better, and 20 is amazing. But just promise me you'll talk to at least 5 people. Now aim for a 30-minute chat, create a list of questions, and conduct interviews to uncover their pain points, behaviors, and desires. For example, what's the hardest part of blank for you? How do you currently solve blank. What's your dream solution? Walk me through a day in your shoes when you're trying to solve blank. Let me give you some examples. For college students, you might ask how they manage stress during finals, what tools they've tried, and what they wish existed to help them. Another example would be for moms looking for effective home workouts. You might ask how they currently stay active, what challenges they face in finding time to exercise, and what kind of workout programs they wish actually existed. So now that you've interviewed at least 5 people, right? Take everything you learned from your interviews and map out that typical experience your audience is going through. This is where you connect the dots. So going back to our college students trying to study for exams. I used Miro for this example just so it'd be a little bit prettier, but please use whatever you're most comfortable with or whatever you have. You can even just write this down on paper. So break up the journey map into logical themes. For this one, I broke it up into before finals week, during finals week, and after finals week. Below that, you're going to have a row that show the steps that the user is going through. And then below that, you're going to have a row that calls out the pains. And so let's go through this. Before finals week, the steps they're going to take are gathering study material and trying to make a study plan. The pains we heard at that moment are anxiety over what lies ahead. Next would be during finals week. They're trying to find a place to study. They're looking for study help when needed. They're having late night cramming sessions, and they're constantly jumping between different topics. The pains we heard were nowhere to go with everyone else studying at the same time. The office hours don't work with their schedule, and they're stressed because they can't remember what they just studied. And then the last stage, after finals week. They're traveling back home for break, and the biggest anxiety we heard was them having to wait for their grades to post. So at this point, you have a defined target audience, you've interviewed at least 5 people, and you've understood the journey they experience when interacting with the problem you aim to solve. By visualizing this journey, you'll start to see where the biggest pain points are. And those pain points are your golden opportunities. Next step is the problems. Now that you've identified your pain points, it's time to prioritize them. There are a ton of ways to prioritize your problems, but here's the simplest for someone who might have little to no software development experience. First, draw a cross. Your vertical axis is going to represent the value. The value represents how valuable it is to solve that pain. The reach is how many people have that pain. Go back to your journey map and drag your pains over. Now we want to prioritize them one axis at a time. So let's say these were pretty low in value. And let's say the ones that bubbled up at the top as the most valuable were these two. Now that we have them prioritized in value, drag them left to right based on their reach. So let's say we heard everyone call this one out. Let's say fewer people called this one out. And let's say only a handful of people called that one out. Now you know exactly where you should be spending your time. Up and to the right. Highest value, highest reach. The goal here is to focus your efforts on problems that matter most. Those that create the biggest impact for the majority of users and are ones they are most willing to pay to solve. You'll also begin to understand how the audience ranks their problems, which allows you to focus on validating and addressing the most significant pain points. This ensures you're solving issues that truly matter to them rather than expending effort on less impactful concerns. With your prioritized problems in hand, it's time to finally brainstorm solutions. This is arguably the most fun part and where your creativity and expertise come into play. Think big, but also think practical. Ask yourself, what's the simplest way to solve this problem? Can I leverage existing tools or technologies? What would make this solution delightful for the users? An example could be an AI-powered chatbot that offers real-time stress relief techniques like guided breathing exercises or study tips. Write down as many ideas as you can, then narrow them down to one or two that are easiest to test and align most closely with the needs you've identified. You can use the same 2x2 framework from earlier, but replace the horizontal axis with effort to represent how much work each solution will take to build, and swap the plus and minus sign so solutions with more effort go to the left instead of the right. Run the exercise again and focus on the solutions that land in the top right quadrant. High value and low effort. These are your best starting points. Once you've prioritized your solutions, you're ready to start building. So now let's fill out the entire GAPS framework with our college example. The goal is to make stress management accessible. The audience, college students during finals. You interviewed 5 to 10 students, and the findings were real-time stress relief was a major gap. You prioritized the problem that students needed quick, easy ways to de-stress. And the solution is a chatbot offering guided breathing and study tips to better plan ahead. Next, typically what you would do is you would build an MVP, what we call a minimum viable product. It's the simplest version of your solution that lets you test your idea with real users. Remember, it doesn't have to be fancy, it just has to work. An example for the college students could be a basic chatbot built with ChatGPT. There's no bells, no whistles, just functionality. Use no-code platforms, templates, or even a manual process to get your MVP up and running quickly. Remember, the goal is to validate your idea, not to build a polished product at this point. Now put your MVP in front of your target audience and gather feedback. Did they like it? Fantastic. Did they hate it? Even better. Now you know what to improve. The key here is to treat feedback as data, not a personal critique. Each iteration brings you closer to a solution that truly works. The GAPS framework works because it forces you to align your efforts with what users truly need. It saves you from wasting time on ideas that don't resonate with the audience, and it helps you focus on building solutions that matter. Remember, you don't have to do this alone. Come join Step by Step Startup. You'll find a community of founders, actionable advice, and support every step of the way. Thank you very much for your time. I hope I taught you something. I'll see you again.